Well, let's talk about what's going on at home for a minute to see if we can clean up the mess down here. We got the story from the New York Post. Hunter Biden's former business partners cooperated completely with feds in tax probe. The New York Post reports Devon Archer, who was awaiting sentencing in an unrelated fraud case, is among four people reportedly referenced in a May 15, 2019 subpoena, first reported by the Post, sent to JP Morgan Chase Bank for records related to any transaction involving the Bank of China. The others include James Biden, a younger brother of President Joe Biden. A partial copy of the subpoena was posted online by the Marco Polo USA research group headed by Garrett Ziegler, who worked as a White House policy analyst under former President Trump. Mr. Archer was not aware of the specific subpoena from 2019, which appears directed to a bank. His lawyer, Matthew Schwartz, told the Post in an email. But Mr. Archer has cooperated completely with the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office investigation from the moment he became aware of it. So they're looking into transactions involving China. The first thing I want to say is, look, there may be some connection to Hunter Biden, but if you were to ask me, do I think anything in terms of accountability would happen to the Biden family? I would say probably not. Maybe if Donald Trump gets elected in 2024. But Peter, you seem to be much more of an expert than I. So what do you think?
Well, I don't know. You might be right, Tim. I think if the Republicans take the House and the Senate, you're going to get congressional hearings. Some of those committees have subpoena powers.
Will they impeach Joe Biden? I think they should.
Well, they may very well. I mean, one of the things that troubled me the most in this new book, I did the first Hunter Biden China stuff back in 2018 in a book that I wrote. And at that time, it was a story of like corruption and cronyism and self-dealing and all that. What we did more recently for this book is we went through the Hunter Biden laptop and we went through some of the emails of one of his business partners who gave us access to his Gmail account. And we wanted to figure out, so the Bidens got all these deals in China that Hunter wasn't qualified for. Who actually made it rain, right? Who actually gave the Bidens this money, which is like $31 million in deals? So we traced it back. And what we found is that there were four guys that set these deals up. Every single one of these guys has links to the highest levels of Chinese intelligence. So like one guy named Che Fang set him up for a $20 million payday. Che Fang at the time was business partners with the vice minister of state security, who's in charge of recruiting foreign spies for the Chinese. Wow. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, and every single case this was. So, the Biden case no longer is just cronyism and corruption. I mean, we have to entertain the notion that the Chinese targeted the Bidens, they got the Bidens, and that the Bidens are compromised. It's an intelligence operation. I mean, it has all the markings of it.
Isn't it crazy that we spent so many years talking about Trump and Russia?
Yeah.
But now we're here talking about Biden and China?
Yeah, and here, unlike the Trump case, I mean, when the Trump stuff, when the dossier first came out, okay, I fell for it. I was like, hey, we got to look at this. Like, this looks serious. We got to investigate it. And then, 5 or 6 months later, you realize this thing is completely falling apart. But there, you had no money, right? You had this anonymous dossier, but you had no money. You had no deals. You had no, links to intelligence. With the Bidens, you've got money. Nobody disputes they got the $31 million. And now you've got the fact that the people that made these deals happen all have these intelligence links. So it's completely compromised. And I think that Congress needs to hold those hearings, and they need to get the Bidens under subpoena to testify in front of Congress to explain it. But I agree with you. The law enforcement, I've kind of given up on the fact that they're going to hold these elites accountable. There's a different set of law and justice for elites than there is for ordinary Americans today.
And even as far as it can go with a congressional hearing, look, Fauci lied under oath on numerous occasions, and nothing.
No accountability. No accountability. You're exactly right.
You look, I think at this point, we look at all the past stories we've already discussed, the split between the left and the right. I think it's fair. If I were to ask all of you listening, do you think when it comes to, say Joe Rogan or anybody else, that the left would be willing to compromise and say, oh, okay, we'll concede this point? The answer is, of course not. They won't. They'll keep pulling and pulling and pulling. It's only the right and the liberty side that keeps conceding. In that capacity, I think it's fair to realize there will never be federal law enforcement accountability for Joe Biden and his family, no matter how much gets reported on it, or Anthony Fauci, no matter how much it gets reported. In which case, what ends up happening is it doesn't matter if there's hard evidence or not. The Republicans come in and they'll be like, hey, we're going to impeach. Why? It's partisan.